That night, as the group of students sat around a fire with the humans, Zoral's mind raced. Earth was a place like no other. It wasn't just about the creatures or the storms, it was about survival, plain and simple. The real danger wasn't the planet itself, but the creatures that lived here and how they fought to keep going, no matter the cost. And that, Zoral realized, was what made Earth the ultimate test of survival. A group of alien students from the planet Valoria had been given the task of studying Earth, a place known across the galaxy as a death world. Rumors spread through the stars that Earth was filled with dangers unlike any other planet. Massive storms, deadly creatures, and hostile environments awaited those who dared to set foot there. The students had read the reports. They had seen the data, but they had never experienced Earth themselves. They were excited, confident, and eager to understand why Earth had earned such a reputation. With advanced suits, shields, and technology, they were sure they could handle whatever the planet threw at them. Their teacher, Professor Zan, led them into the heart of Earth's most dangerous desert, the Sahara. The sun blazed down, the ground shimmered with heat, and the air felt like a furnace. Nothing seemed alive here. The students could barely believe that anything could survive in such a harsh place. "Remember," Professor Zan said, his voice serious, "this desert will test everything you know. Stay close, stay calm, and don't underestimate Earth's challenges." The students nodded. They were ready. As they began their journey through the vast sand dunes, the students marveled at the landscape. But it didn't take long before they started to feel the weight of the heat. Every step felt harder than the last. Their suits, designed to protect them, began to overheat in the scorching sun. Soon, they could feel the burning sensation creeping through their gloves and boots. "We need to find shelter," said Marek, a young alien student. "This heat is unbearable." But the desert stretched out endlessly in every direction. There were no mountains, no trees, no sign of life. The vast emptiness was both beautiful and terrifying. Just as they were starting to feel the full intensity of the desert's power, a loud roar echoed in the distance. The students froze, their hearts pounding. "What was that?" whispered Lyra, her voice shaky. Professor Zan held up his hand, signaling for silence. "Stay alert. We're not alone here." The students strained their ears. The roar came again, louder this time, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. A creature, massive and fast, was approaching. Before they could react, the creature appeared over the horizon, a massive sandstorm, moving with surprising speed. The students gasped in shock. This was no ordinary storm. The winds whipped up grains of sand so fiercely that they cut through the air like blades. It was a wall of destruction, and it was heading straight for them. "We need to find shelter, now," Professor Zane shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. The group turned and ran, but the storm was too fast. The sand hit them with incredible force, blinding them. Their suits tried to shield them, but the winds were stronger than they had anticipated. Marek stumbled, tripping over his own feet, while Lyra screamed in fear as the sand whirled around them, forcing them to crawl to safety. They finally found shelter under a small rocky outcrop, but the storm didn't stop. It seemed endless, pounding against the rocks with a fury they had never imagined. "This is impossible," Marek muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "How does anyone survive this?" Professor Zan's face was grim. "This is what Earth does. It doesn't give you an easy way out. It doesn't care if you're prepared or not. It tests you in every way it can. But it's not the storm that's the test. It's how you survive it." For hours, the storm raged on. The students huddled together under the rocks, feeling helpless against the power of nature. But then, just as the storm seemed to calm, another sound reached their ears: footsteps. Heavy, slow, and deliberate. They turned, fear creeping up their spines. A figure emerged from the shadows of the storm, its outline blurry in the haze. As it got closer, they realized it was a human barefoot, covered in dust and sand, but moving with a quiet confidence. "Who are you?" Lyra asked, her voice trembling. The human smiled, wiping the sand from his face. "I live here. This is my home. You'll learn to survive it too. The students were stunned. This human had walked through the very storm that nearly destroyed them. He had survived the harshest of conditions that most other species in the galaxy would never dare to face. How? Where did you come from? Marek asked, his curiosity overcoming his fear. The human laughed softly. From the desert, like you. The difference is that I've learned how to live with it, not against it. Earth doesn't care if you're strong or weak, rich or poor. It only cares if you can survive. If you can adapt. If you can learn to understand it. The students exchanged uncertain glances. The desert, the storm, the dangers they had all tested them, pushed them to their limits. But this human wasn't just surviving. He was thriving. Is it really that simple? Asked Lyra. The human nodded. Earth is harsh. It doesn't give up. But if you pay attention, if you listen to the land, it will show you how to survive. Not just in the desert, but anywhere. Earth's ultimate test isn't about strength. It's about adaptability. The students were silent for a long time, processing his words. For the first time, they understood the true nature of Earth. The planet wasn't about avoiding danger. It was about learning to live with it, to outsmart it, to find a way to survive. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the desert, the group of students knew they had just learned something that would change them forever. They hadn't just faced a storm, they had faced Earth itself. And they had learned the ultimate lesson. To survive on Earth, you didn't just need to fight. You needed to understand, adapt, and never give up. A group of alien students from the planet Exiron had been sent to Earth to uncover the mystery behind its deadly reputation. Their home planet was peaceful and orderly, and they couldn't imagine how a planet could be so dangerous. The stories they'd heard from other species were filled with terrifying creatures, deadly storms, and ruthless environments. They didn't believe it. After all, how could a planet so chaotic have intelligent life? Their teacher, Professor Zed, led them to the heart of a dense jungle in Africa. Today, he said, you will witness the real Earth. You will see the creatures and environments that have earned this world its deadly name. But remember, Earth is not just dangerous because of its creatures. It's dangerous because everything here fights to survive. The students, prepared with their high-tech suits and weapons, entered the jungle. The air was thick with humidity, and the smell of damp earth filled their senses. Strange sounds echoed through the trees as birds with vibrant colors and bizarre shapes flew overhead. But the students were focused. They were ready for anything. As they walked deeper into the jungle, they began to notice something odd. The plants were unlike anything they'd seen before. Large, twisting vines, sharp leaves that could tear through fabric, and flowers with colors so bright they seemed unnatural. But it was the silence that unnerved them the most. There were no animals in sight, no sounds of creatures moving in the underbrush. Everything felt still, almost as if the jungle was watching them. Suddenly, the stillness was shattered by a loud, aggressive growl. The students froze. From the shadows, a massive creature emerged. It had the body of a large feline, but its eyes glowed with a strange, unnatural light. Its fur shimmered in the low light, and its claws were sharp enough to tear through metal. Professor Zed immediately stepped forward, activating his shield. Stay back, he ordered, his voice calm but firm. This is the first lesson. Earth's creatures are not like those of your homeworld. They are fierce, fast, and unpredictable. The students watched in awe as the professor fought the creature off, his shield holding strong against its powerful strikes. The alien students had never seen anything like this before. They were used to fighting battles with advanced weapons, not dealing with creatures this dangerous in the wild. As the creature finally retreated into the jungle, the students breathed a sigh of relief. They had survived their first encounter, but the experience left them shaken. We need to keep moving, Professor Zed said, his voice steady. But remember, Earth doesn't care how prepared you are. It doesn't care who you are. It just tests you. The group continued through the jungle, but the tension in the air was thick. The students could sense that more dangers were waiting for them. They moved cautiously, listening for the sounds of creatures or any sign of movement. But it wasn't just the creatures that worried them. The plants, the weather, and the very earth beneath their feet felt alive. It was as if the jungle itself was watching, waiting for them to make a mistake. Hours passed, and the sun began to set. The jungle grew darker and colder. The students were exhausted, and their suits were starting to malfunction from the humidity. They had come prepared for many things, but not for this relentless feeling that Earth was not just a planet, it was a living, breathing challenge. And then they found something that none of them expected. A small village, hidden deep in the jungle, lay before them. It seemed out of place, almost too calm. The houses were made of wood and leaves, and there were humans moving about, performing everyday tasks. The humans appeared completely unaffected by the dangers of the jungle around them. They didn't wear any protective suits or carry weapons. They were just living their lives, as if the jungle wasn't deadly at all. The students approached cautiously, unsure of what to expect. One of the humans, a young woman with short dark hair, noticed them and walked over with a smile. "Are you lost?" she asked, her voice kind and welcoming. The students were taken aback. How could she be so calm in a place so dangerous? "Aren't you afraid of the creatures?" Lyra, one of the students, asked. "The jungle. It's full of deadly beasts. And the plants, they're dangerous." The woman laughed softly. "Yes, the jungle is dangerous, but it's also our home. We've learned to live with it. We know where the threats are, and we know how to survive." The students were confused. How could these humans survive without the advanced technology they relied on? How could they live in a place where even the air seemed dangerous? The woman noticed their confusion and smiled. "Earth isn't just about survival against its dangers," she said. "It's about understanding it. Everything here, every plant, every animal, every storm is a part of the same system. Earth doesn't care if you're strong, smart, or prepared. It just tests you. And if you're willing to learn from it, Earth will show you how to survive." Professor Zed stepped forward. "So, you've learned to live with the dangers?" The woman nodded. "Yes. We don't fight Earth. We adapt. We learn its patterns, understand its rhythms, and find our place in it. The real danger isn't the creatures or the storms. The real danger is thinking you can control Earth. Earth isn't something to control. It's something to understand." The students stood in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just heard. Earth wasn't just dangerous because of its deadly creatures or harsh environments. Earth's real danger was in how it tested every living thing, pushing them to adapt, learn, and survive. The students realized they had only seen a small part of the truth. The night fell, and the stars began to shine above the jungle. The students sat together in silence. They had come to Earth to uncover its secrets, but what they had found was something deeper, something that no one had told them. Earth wasn't just a death world. It was a place where survival wasn't guaranteed. It was earned. A group of alien students from the planet Solaris were on a mission to solve the greatest mystery in the galaxy, Earth. Known throughout the stars as a death world, Earth was said to be filled with dangers so extreme that only the strongest could survive. Yet, for all its threats, Earth was also home to intelligent life that seemed to thrive despite the constant challenges. The students, under the guidance of their teacher, Professor Kale, had come to Earth with one purpose: to uncover the truth behind its deadly reputation. Equipped with advanced technology and protective suits, they were prepared for anything. Or so they thought. Today, Professor Kale said as they stepped out onto the rocky terrain of the Australian outback, "You will witness the mystery of Earth's survival. This place is known for its extreme conditions, heat, wildlife, and the brutal landscape. But remember, Earth's true challenge is not in the environment. It's in the creatures that live here." The students listened carefully, their curiosity growing. They had studied Earth's dangers in theory, but now they would experience it firsthand. As they moved through the barren land, the heat began to rise. The sun hung low in the sky and the temperature soared to uncomfortable levels. The ground beneath them was cracked, dry, and covered in sharp stones. But it was the silence that unsettled them. There were no sounds of birds or animals, no rustling of leaves. It was as if the world was holding its breath. Stay alert, Professor Kale warned. The outback is a place of hidden dangers. Many creatures here can camouflage themselves in the environment, waiting for the right moment to strike. Just as he spoke, a movement caught their eye. A flash of brown, quick as lightning, darted across the ground. The students froze, their hearts racing. "What was that?" asked Jorik, his voice filled with uncertainty. Professor Kale squinted into the distance. "A hunting creature, perhaps? They are quick and deadly. We must be careful not to alert it." As they continued, the air grew thicker, and the temperature even more unbearable. The students began to feel the weight of Earth's heat, the intense dryness making every breath a struggle. The landscape stretched endlessly in every direction. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them shook. A low rumble echoed through the desert, growing louder with each passing second. The students looked around, their suits alerting them to the sudden shift in atmosphere. "What's happening?" Lyra asked, her voice shaky. Professor Kale's expression was grim. "It's an earthquake. Earth is unstable. It changes quickly, unpredictably." The rumbling grew stronger, and the students braced themselves, watching as cracks appeared in the earth beneath their feet. The ground seemed to shift, breaking apart and leaving deep, jagged fissures in its wake. "This is no ordinary earthquake," Kale muttered, his eyes scanning the ground. "There's something beneath us. Something alive." Suddenly, a massive creature erupted from the earth. It was enormous, its body made of rough, rocky plates that shimmered like the very earth it had risen from. Its eyes glowed with a fierce intelligence, and its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. The students gasped in shock. This was not a creature they had expected. It was a perfect blend of Earth's dangerous earthquakes, deadly animals, and a force that seemed to come from the planet itself. The creature moved with terrifying speed, its massive claws tearing through the ground as it advanced toward them. Jorik stumbled back in fear. "What is that thing?" Professor Kyle quickly activated his suit's shield, blocking the creature's initial strike. "That is Earth's greatest mystery. A creature unlike any other in the galaxy. It is not just a predator, it is a part of Earth itself. It is the planet's answer to survival." The creature roared, sending vibrations through the ground. It was clearly not just defending itself. It was protecting something. The students' curiosity grew even more as they realized that the creature wasn't attacking them out of pure hunger or aggression, it was defending something important. Professor Kale held up his hand. "Do not engage it directly. Earth's creatures are not simply obstacles. They are part of the balance, and if you disturb that balance, the consequences can be catastrophic." The students watched in awe as the creature paused, sensing something beyond their understanding. It turned and, with a single powerful swipe, cleared a path through the rocks, revealing something hidden deep beneath the surface, a massive underground structure, its walls glowing with an eerie, unnatural light. "This is it," Kale whispered. "The heart of Earth's mystery. This is what the planet has been hiding from the stars." The students exchanged confused glances. What was this structure? Who had built it? And why had the creature been guarding it? Without warning, the creature retreated, sinking back into the earth as quickly as it had appeared. The ground closed up behind it, leaving no trace of its existence. The students were left in stunned silence. "What just happened?" asked Lyra, her voice trembling. Professor Kale looked out at the glowing structure beneath the surface. "We've only just scratched the surface of Earth's true nature. The planet is more than just a place of danger. It is a living, breathing entity that has developed ways to protect its secrets that the galaxy is not ready to uncover." As the group stood there, taking in the mysterious scene before them, they realized that Earth's reputation as a death world wasn't just because of the creatures or the environment. It was a place where the very land itself fought to keep its secrets hidden. And the students had only begun to understand the complexity of what they were dealing with. "Let's move," Kale said, his voice filled with determination. "There's much more to this mystery than we've seen today, and Earth will not make it easy for us to uncover the truth." The alien students from the planet Vexor were eager to experience Earth. They had heard stories of the planet's reputation as a death world, a place where only the strongest could survive. But these students, armed with advanced technology and protective suits, felt ready for anything. Nothing on Earth, they believed, could challenge their skills. Their teacher, Professor Halon, was different. He had visited Earth many times before, and each time he had barely survived. But he never shared the full details of his experiences. This time, he took them to one of the most dangerous places on Earth, the steep cliffs of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon, Professor Halon said, looking at the massive canyon stretching out before them, is not just beautiful. It is also a place where life hangs by a thread. This is where Earth teaches you its toughest lesson. The lesson of living on the edge. The students looked over the cliffs, their eyes wide with awe. The canyon was breathtaking, but it was also terrifying. The rocks were sharp and jagged, and the drop down to the canyon floor seemed endless. A sudden gust of wind made them all step back. "Be careful," Professor Halon warned. "The wind here is unpredictable. The cliffs are unstable. One wrong step, and you could be gone." The students nodded, feeling the weight of his words. They had trained for many environments, but they had never faced anything like this. The danger here was not in the creatures they might face, but in the environment itself. The land seemed alive, eager to claim anyone who wasn't paying attention. As they carefully made their way along the narrow trail, the students couldn't help but feel the growing tension. The wind howled, and the air seemed thinner the higher they climbed. Every step felt like a gamble. One misstep, and they would fall into the depths below. "Stay close," Professor Halon ordered. "Focus on your footing. This place is dangerous, but you can survive if you respect it." But it wasn't just the cliffs that kept them on edge. As they reached a particularly narrow section of the trail, they heard a strange sound, an animal cry, loud and shrill, echoing off the canyon walls. The students froze. "What was that?" Lyra, one of the students, whispered, her voice tight with fear. Professor Halon's face was hard to read. "Stay quiet. It's not our fight." The cry came again, louder this time. It was followed by the sound of heavy footsteps, something large moving through the canyon. The students strained their eyes, trying to see what it was, but the canyon walls blocked their view. "Whatever it is, it's not friendly," said Jorik, his voice tense. Suddenly, a massive shadow appeared at the edge of the trail. A huge creature, part lizard and part bird, with sharp talons and glowing eyes, appeared from behind the rock face. It had been stalking them, waiting for the right moment to strike. The students stepped back, their suits activating protective shields. But the creature didn't attack. Instead, it circled them, its eyes fixed on the group. It wasn't hungry. It wasn't even angry. It was just watching, sizing them up. Professor Halon stepped forward slowly, keeping his movements calm and steady. "This is what Earth does. It forces you to face your fears. It challenges you to survive, not through brute force, but through intelligence and patience." The students could feel the weight of his words. They had studied Earth's creatures, but nothing had prepared them for this. The creature seemed to be toying with them, moving in slow circles, as if daring them to make a mistake. "I don't think it's going to attack," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. Professor Halon didn't respond. He simply watched the creature, his eyes narrowed in concentration. He knew that on Earth, nothing was certain. The planet didn't care if you were prepared or not. It didn't care if you were a skilled warrior or a helpless child. Earth's only rule was survival. The creature continued to circle them, its talons clicking on the rock. The students could feel the tension building, the pressure mounting. One wrong move, and the creature could strike. But if they didn't move at all, they might be able to outlast it. Time seemed to stretch on forever. The students stood perfectly still, holding their breath, hoping the creature would lose interest. Finally, after what felt like hours, the creature let out a sharp, echoing cry and backed away, disappearing into the shadows of the canyon. The students exhaled in unison, their hearts still racing. "Why didn't it attack?" Jorik asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Professor Halon nodded, a grim smile crossing his face. That's the real challenge of Earth. It doesn't always attack when you expect it to. Sometimes, the danger is in waiting. The danger is in living on the edge, where every choice matters. The students were silent, processing the experience. They had faced death not in the way they had imagined, but in a more subtle, unpredictable way. They had learned that Earth's real danger wasn't just in the creatures or the environment, it was in the constant threat of the unknown, the constant pressure to survive in a world that didn't make sense. As they continued their trek along the cliff, the students realized something important. On Earth, there were no guarantees. Survival was never certain. The key to living on the edge was learning how to navigate the dangers, how to adapt to the unknown, and how to face fear without letting it control you. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the canyon, the students knew that they had learned something crucial. They weren't just surviving on the edge. They were becoming a part of it.